My name is Robert E. Jarrett, and I was a boilerman third class in the United States Navy, assigned to the USS Intrepid. I've lived in Yarmouth for 72 years. I served, it's kind of hilarious, but when you go on board an aircraft carrier, which I flew on and landed on it, you're a mess cook. You're in the mess making dinner, breakfast, lunches, and that kind of stuff for at least 2 weeks before you get assigned a duty station. And I was supposed to be a ship fitter, but they were low on boiler techs, so I ended up in the boiler room, which we made 600-pound Maine steam, which ran the propellers. It also launched aircraft and did everything else that you needed to be done with hot water. When I went in and I enlisted in 1968, which was June 24th, and then I did my 4 years. I got out in June 24th, 1972. In 1968, they had the you could get drafted into most time in the Army, and I said I'm not going in the Army, so I enlisted in the Navy even before I graduated. I was all set to go to Great Lakes, Illinois for boot camp. When we were all going to Great Lakes, Illinois is where we had boot camp. And there was a set of railroad tracks that went right through the complex. And on one side they had old buildings that they were getting ready to tear down. On the other side of the tracks they had brand new buildings. And I got the old buildings. And I smoked, so if you wanted to smoke, everybody sat around a can. That's where your ashes and everything else went up, because if you started a fire or anything like that, everything was going to be gone, because everything there was so tinder dry. It was a different experience. I did not have a father. I had two younger brothers that I lived with my mother, and it was a different atmosphere of camping out with 25 or 30 guys and just becoming friends with them and being scared at the same time of where we were going and what we were going to do. I was a heavy smoker, so you could only smoke at certain times or in certain places, so I think that's the biggest hurdle that I had to get over, was the idea that I couldn't smoke anytime I wanted to. I learned everything hands-on. There was no schools for the steam and the boilers that we ended up working on, and they taught us how to take care of everything. You stood watch while the boilers were on, lit up. There had to be a 7-man crew standing by, taking notes, operating the burners, water check person, messenger, and a top watch. It took a little bit of difference, because I was always on my own. Even though I lived at home with my mother going to school, I was pretty well on my own to do things. It was interesting flying from Maine to Chicago, from Chicago to Hawaii, to Guam, and then to the Philippines, where we spent 2 weeks under rain showers waiting to get deployed to our ship. And they had a plane that carried the mail and everything else, and when I got on the plane, there was a first class officer on the plane, and said, "Guys, this is going to be an experience for you," because he knew we were boot camp, because the hats super clean and uniforms and blah blah blah. So we enjoyed the flight until the guy says, "Look out that window." And there's a little porthole window in the airplane, and he says, "We're going to land on that thing." And it was from where we were, it was about the size of a postage stamp. And we went from 125 miles an hour to a dead stop in less than 2 seconds. And that was something I will always remember, is that landing on that aircraft carrier. It was different. We were only in Vietnam for 3 months. I landed on the carrier at the end of September, and we left there the end of December to come back to the United States. So we got to steam around South America. I went around the Cape of Good Hope. Then we stopped in Sydney, Australia, and they were building the amphitheater when I was there. And their winters were our summers, so it was reversed. When we got to Sydney, the first day, it was 72 degrees, which was kind of nice, because the boiler room that I worked in, we had a new Lieutenant JG that came on board, and he didn't like the way we were taking readings and doing things, so he wanted to change things. So he brought down a bunch of thermometers. And these are fluid ones that you have at your house or whatever. And he told us we had to hang them around the different parts of the boiler room and take readings on them when the messenger did his readings, which was every hour. And these things, he actually got the paperwork, because we had to write it, and we sent the paperwork up to his office. And he come down and wanted to know what was going on. And he said, "You guys said 120 degrees." And we said, "Yes, sir. We followed your instructions to the letter, took the readings every hour, and sent the paperwork up to you. And now you're down here telling us that we did something wrong." And we didn't. And if you want to look at the thermometers, they're still hanging, and you can take a look. And he did. And being the smart guy that I am, I was doing running what they call checks. It's you have a valve that keeps the water at a certain level inside of the boiler. If you let it get too low or too high, you end up with problems and stuff. So you had to be on your best watch to make sure that that water stayed where it was. But there's a valve in there that you can clean the sight glass and stuff with, and every once in a while you have to. Well, this guy was walking around the bilges, and I opened it and closed it really fast, and when you do that, it goes right to the bottom of the ship, and it sounds like a cannon going off. This guy's pants are on fire when he left the fire room. He didn't stick around very long after we did that. So these lieutenants and everything else that come out of boot camp trying to tell us what we've already been doing for a while it doesn't rub well. Well, it's kind of funny. In my division, there was 105 guys, and we slept on racks that were 4 high. I was a lucky guy. I got the top. But your clothes and stuff, you lifted up the lid, and your clothes are all in here. They come back from the laundry, and you fold them and put them back down. But friends, I've got one friend that lives in Charlotte, North Carolina. He was in the sail locker. He made parachute bags and stuff like that, and I've stayed in touch with him. But most of the guys that when I got out, we just parted ways as friends, and said we had a good time, and I'm glad I went. I'm glad I did what I did. That's about all I can really say about all these guys that I knew and lived and worked with. We had a ship store, so you could get down and get canned stuff like Vienna sausage and other things, or Spam. And I don't eat the stuff anymore because I ate so much of it when I was there that my taste buds can't take that stuff anymore. But I didn't really have a lot of stuff. I'd go up and watch the aircraft when they launched them and stuff like that. We were allowed to go to the 08 level, which is on the island, which is the control of the heart of the ship, so that we get some fresh air too. When we didn't have flight hops, we could go up and walk around the deck and look at the planes and that kind of stuff. That's basically what I did. I wasn't a reader. I just, we'd sit up there and talk to guys in the Marines. There was Marines on our carrier. They're the ones that guarded the captain. So those guys were pretty neat. Actually, my grandson has been out of the Marines for about a year. He did 4 years in San Diego, so pretty proud of him for taking up and going in the Marines. So, but I didn't do a whole lot. Slept in my rack because when we had flight hops, it was 4 on, 4 off, 4 on, 4 off. Well, by the time you got out of the boiler room, and depending on what time of day, got something to eat and got a shower, you're lucky if you get 2 hours of sleep. Never could understand doing 4 on, 4 off, but you know, it's like anything else. It's the right way, the wrong way, and the Navy way. So that's what we did. Well, supposedly after a year, you're supposed to get about 30 days of leave. But when you're either in the Mediterranean or down in Guantanamo Bay, doing general quarters and stuff like that, you always didn't get a chance to go home. So we were in port, let's see, I was in Jacksonville, Florida, got a call from my girlfriend and said, I'm pregnant on one of my leaves home. So I married her and had a son, and you know, got absolutely no regrets. I've been married for 54 years. So that was, when it goes to leave, you don't always get it. So you do the best. We can talk about food that when we got refurbished, we had fresh milk and regular eggs and fruit and everything else. Well, there was 3,300 guys on the carrier that I was on, and after a month, all the fresh stuff is gone. So you end up with powdered milk on your cereal or whatever. You ended up with only scrambled eggs because everything, you know, the fresh stuff is gone. It didn't take us long to run out of ice cream for meals and stuff. So it was always interesting. But to say to that is, we had a company party on one of the islands, and they had steak. They got us a big box of steak, and it was all flash frozen and stuff, and it was dated like 1948, 1949 or whatever. And the mess hall on the ship, you could put it on the bottom of your shoes and wear it for 6 months and never even put a dent. We cooked it on the beach, and it was just as tender. You cut that stuff with a butter knife. So, you know, that was one of my best stories of food. Ship food is, you exist on it. And when you got a chance to go on the beach and have something decent, you did. Because you can lose weight down where I was. I was 123 pounds. I smoked 2 packs of cigarettes a day, and I drank a ton of coffee. So that's the way you stay alive when it's very hot down where I worked and stuff, and you couldn't wait to get outside and get some fresh air. I don't have any regrets about joining. It's just when I came home with a wife and a child, it did not go well. And actually, for the first few years that I was out, actually about 7 years ago, I started wearing my Vietnam cap. And I get a lot of people that come up and thank me for my service and everything else. So it's a good thing now, but it wasn't when I came home. At the time, I was living with my mother and my stepfather, and he was gracious enough to give. There was 3 boys. I'm the oldest. My other brother Dick is 2 years younger than I am, and my other brother is 4 years younger than I am. He offered us each $1,500 to buy a house or go to school or whatever we wanted to do with it. And I actually bought a house in Yarmouth with that money, and started my family living here in Yarmouth. So I got no regrets. Again, it's just the way people treated. If you mentioned you were a Vietnam vet, most of them, I didn't get rocks thrown at me or anything like that, but but they said the job is filled, or they had a list of excuses why you didn't want to want to hire you, even though, you know, I could have been the best fit for the company. It just, you know, they treated us like garbage. I think, and now that I wear my hat and I see people, I mean, there was a lady that walked up to me a couple of days ago and said, "I want to shake your hand. I really appreciate what you sacrificed, you know, going over there." It's a good feeling that, you know, I did what I wanted to do, but I just expected to come home and get a little bit more respect. But when I got out in '72 was the worst part of the war, and it was not going good anywhere, and people just wanted to complain, and that's the thing that hurt the most, is none of these people went over there and knew what was going on. They only heard what was on the news. They wanted to criticize everybody. And being a Vietnam vet, I was at the top of the list. So I just ignored everybody. I stopped telling people I was a Vietnam vet. I mean, I worked a lot of different jobs. When I got out of the Navy, I peddled milk on Eastern Prom to get a job to feed my family and stuff. So I had a number of jobs for the first few years that I was out. Some people wouldn't hire me because I said, "Well, gee, you keep changing jobs." Well, I keep changing jobs to make more money and get better insurance for my family, and that's all. And a lot of them didn't see it that way and stuff, so we kind of just grinned and bear it. And then I got a job in the town of Yarmouth, and I was there for 40 years. So that part was good, but it took a while to get there. I tried to get a job with Central Maine Power because they had the same type of steam system out in South Portland, and they weren't hiring. And a couple other places I applied because they use the steam and stuff. They weren't interested. They, we got family, we got this and that. I mean, Wyman Station, you had to know 29 people to get in down there, so it just wasn't working out. And I mean, I got some odd jobs and stuff. I was a mechanic before I went in. I worked on my own car and pumped gas in my junior high years and my high school years. I didn't play any sports or anything like that. I worked, and to save up money and, you know, and to exist as a kid. So that was my idea of, when I had a car, I always had a carload of kids that wanted to ride somewhere, so I was the taxi. But the way it goes. Life on an aircraft carrier is extremely confined. One time when we went down to Guantanamo Bay, what we did was called general quarters, which means we sealed the ship up. And at first you didn't know who you were going to be hooked up with to do fire lines and everything else. And more than once I got stuck down in the boiler room, and average temperature down there was, as I said a little while ago, was over 120 degrees. Well, when you shut the fans off, I mean, that temperature just escalates like you can only believe. So they only kept the blowers off for 15 minutes, and they had to turn them back on, or we were all going to be fried. Because, I mean, we were starting to drink tons of water. They gave us salt tablets to help along. It just, you learn to stay and do as you're asked to do in any situation, because that was going to help you to stay alive and well. So everybody worked together. The first one I joined was a number of years ago was the American Anvits over on North Road, and we were sponsoring softball teams and stuff. So we were able to get some money from the Anvits to, actually it was my wife's softball team. She did really good. They lost all 10 games and won the championship. Figure that one out. But I belong to the Legion downstairs, the finance officer for them. I belong to the VFW, which meets here, and I also belong to the Anvits. So I've kind of got my foot in all three that are in Yarmouth. I don't care to go any further. I enjoy what I do. I don't spend much time at the Anvits Hall. I spend most of my time with the American Legion, as again, because I'm finance officer and taking care of stuff. So not very good at taking care of stuff, but I give it my best shot. Well, I'd ask them to join, but I also have to be realistic that most of them have families. They got little ones. So, I mean, their commitment, I'm family first. Everything revolves around the family. So you need to take care of them first. We've got a number of youngsters, but they're in their 30s and 40s that live here in Yarmouth. They've changed the plate for people in the military, and it shows up that there are a lot more people around Yarmouth than it looked like there was when they had the old plates. And every once in a while, I'll ask somebody, you interested in helping us out and marching the Memorial Day Parade and putting up the flags 4 times a year or anything like that? And some people say yes, some people say no. And I don't sit there and pester them. I just said, if you ever change your mind, come see us. We'd love to have you on board. So that's, I'm the one that takes care of the flags on Memorial Green. I try to get people to help us put them up and fold them and everything else. So I like doing it. It keeps me busy. I got plenty to do at the house, but doing this kind of stuff is fun too. I get a lot of thank yous. It's not a tough job. It's not an easy job either. Putting the flags up and keeping track of everything and making sure the flags are rolled and everything. So there's a lot of satisfaction in it that I get, and I'll do it as long as they want me to do it. I'm no young chicken, but I enjoy doing it and checking on stuff. And I got a couple of guys. We have a trailer downstairs, and it got painted and all fixed up. And the guys that did it did a great job. I couldn't work on it because I had surgery, so I was down and out. But these 2 gentlemen came and took the trailer, cleaned it all up and painted it, everything, and it looks like $1 million. And I get compliments, on the trailer, and I make sure that the 2 gentlemen that worked on it are noted. Neither one of them are actually members. One of them has worked on the flagpoles and the receivers for years, and some of his distant relatives were in the service, and the other gentleman was the same way, never been in the service, but he's retired and he loves doing it, and they came and did all that. I brought it back yesterday. I brought it back, and I got more compliments on my email and stuff. So don't take everything for granted. You never know. Like I say, when I flew onto the carrier and did my 2 weeks of mess duty, that I was supposed to be a ship fitter, and I ended up going 14 feet below the waterline to run boilers. In a sense, I got a good job. Hi there. And if I'd been a ship fitter, we were in Hong Kong, and there was guys over the side that were chipping paint and stuff, and they were in a flat bottom skiff, and they one guy is chipping and stuff, and one guy is swinging an oar. The black snakes and the Hong Kong Bay, they would love to get a hold of you. That water is so dirty and it got so many germs that I was surprised they put people over the side to do that, but I'm glad I wasn't a ship fitter. To me, it's a life-growing experience. You're going to like some things, you're not going to like some things, but it's a chance to get out and see more of the world. I personally enjoyed my time. Like I said, I've been to Sydney, Australia, I've been to New Zealand, I've been to Rio, and then I've been in the Med. I've been to Spain, I've been to Amsterdam. I mean, it just, the way you can see things I could never pay for, or I'd love to go back to Sydney. Like I say, they were building the amphitheater when I was there, and it is beautiful, and I wish everybody could see it. Not everybody can afford, flying all the way down there and then home again or whatever, but there's other places that are beautiful too. So, you gotta take what everybody wants to give you, and then some. You go and talk to recruiters. Just be careful with recruiters, because they would like everybody to come to them and not the other branches of the service. So the Marines are under the Navy, so it's a lot of fun to tease the Marines and stuff. But when it comes down to push or shove, they're right beside you. I remember we were out in the Med, and they stopped throwing the garbage. They throw garbage over the side, believe it or not. And they stopped doing it for 3 days so that the guys that wanted to go swimming could. And they put a climb net down over the side, and the guys went swimming and had a good time. But they had Marines all the way around the ship with machine guns. So if a friendly critter showed up, he wasn't going to be around long. But I didn't go swimming. I was not interested in going that way. But, things that happen or things that are there, when we were in Libertyport, like Hong Kong, I run because I was third class, so I ran a motorboat for Liberty Launch, and taking guys over and dropping them off at the beach and then coming back or whatever. One time I had to take a Liberty Launch over to a submarine, and there was a first class on there that was having trouble with his teeth. And of course we have 24-hour dentists and stuff on the ship, so I brought him back to the ship, and he got his dental work and stuff, and I ran a couple more ships into the boat into Liberty Launch and came back, and he just happened to be coming down the gangway and asked for a ride back to his sub, and I looked for the quartermaster and said, "What do you want me to do?" And he says, "Take him back." So we did, and I got myself a tour of a diesel-powered submarine, and they cook food whenever people want it, and we had steaks and potatoes and the whole 9 yards for a meal. And I looked at my watch and I said, "Oh boy, going to be in trouble." So anyway, we putted back to the ship. Quartermaster came down and said, "Where you been?" And I said, "We took the first class back to his submarine." And he said, "They feed you?" "Yes, sir, they did." "Did you get a tour?" "Yes, sir, I did." He says, "Good job, boys. Thank you." And I mean, I figured he was going to fry my fanny for good, but it did not happen. I wish everybody would stop fighting and the world would be a much better place if we all shook hands and threw the guns away. I mean, that's the way I'd like to see it.